Khan, shalom. Shalom, shalom, man. First and foremost, all praises, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? This is your brothers from the Hopeful Elect coming at you with another Soul Food Sunday, right? Brought to you by the Hopeful Elect Israelites, right? Spearheaded the lesson today is, your brother Isaiah, right, on the mic. We got the brother Azrael, the brother Danal, and the brothers Obadiah with us on the screen, and we got the brother Baruch in the comments for the scribe. So again, shalom to everyone that will tune in live or tune in after the live is over with. Most High willing, throughout this lesson, you will be edified. And yeah, Most High will, you have something to take away. But as you see the title, I lied. Whoever I just said was sharing screen, I lied. I do want you to pull up, of course, two videos. One, the blowing of the shofar, and two, it's another video I might ask you to type in and pull up just to, kind of get where I got the name of this lesson from. So before we do that, though, let's set the stage, man, sound the alarm, and welcome the presence of the Lord in. Con. All right. So if you could type in on this YouTube, could you type in literally the title of the lesson? It was said by somebody. Just type in stupid. I'm not gonna let you get the chance. Yeah, play that real quick.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
Fair use.
Stupid. I'm not going to let you get the chance.
Look, so the title of the lesson, man, stupid. I'm not going to let you get the chance, right? Got that from Tekashi 6ix9ine when he did that.
One of these. That's Buffalo Wing.
Salakia, got that from Tekashi 6ix9ine when he did that Breakfast Club interview years ago, right? So what is the purpose of this lesson, right? Why is it titled this way? So this lesson is just pretty much going into exhorting everybody to be spiritually vigilant and proactive, just basically refusing to give, Satan an opportunity to lead you into sin, right? That separates us from the Most High God himself. So without further ado, we can start going into the word, man. Let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 4, and let's read verse number 7 for our first precept. And we can read, the readers, we can read like we've been doing. Who's ever at this top can start.
The book of Genesis chapter 4 and 7. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
Right. So again, man, the point is pretty much temptation is pictured as a beast waiting at our door. The command for us, though, is to rule over it and don't let it get the chance for us to be subservient to sin, right? Don't let us get the chance to be subservient to these demons, these spirits that try to get us out of character, get us out of order, right? Let's go to the second precept, man. Proverbs 4:23. And I'm trying to, always stick to wanting to be within my time limit. So I'm not going to expound too much as I could, right, in between, because, the word is going to speak for itself. There's no need for me to be a mediator or for me to, pretty much elaborate a little too much, because at the end of the day, the word of God is going to be clear and concise, right? So let's read this in Proverbs 4:23.
Proverbs 4:23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it
are the issues of life.
Right, man. This is active, right? Militant guarding. So we're I guess you could say, like, how in Revelation 21, right? It says I have 12 tribes and 12 gates for the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, right? And at those 12 gates, you got 12 angels. And we always like to say, man, those angels serves as bouncers for those who are not supposed to enter into those gates. It's the same way, like when you read this is militant guarding. We are the bouncers of our own hearts, right? We're the bouncers of our own hearts, meaning that we have to guard our hearts, right? We have to make sure that we're not allowing things to enter in that could defile us, right? Because what did Christ say in Mark 7? It's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out of a man that defileth the man, right? Because out of it are the cares of this life, right? The like Galatians 5:19-21, the works of the flesh. So we have to make sure that we're doing our best job to be, I guess you could say, super cop, you know what I'm saying, over our own hearts, right? Anybody had anything to add? Con. So let's go to our next precept, man. Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 15, and let's go to verse number 23. 1 Samuel 15 and what they 23, I think that's how you say 23 in Spanish.
Con. 1 Samuel 15-23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness as the iniquity in idolatry.
Right. Just pretty much pointing out, disobedience isn't a small thing. It opens the door to the spirit of pretty much witchcraft and idolatry, right? It gives demons a chance to enter in you, So we have to not rebel against the will of the Father, right? Because then it's just pretty much like witchcraft. Going against the will is pretty much like witchcraft. We're idolizing our own self and our own emotions when we do move outside of the spirit, right? You always gotta, again, walk in the spirit, right? We know that we have fruits of the spirit in Galatians chapter 5. So wait, is that Galatians 5? Yeah, Galatians 5:22. So you got fruits of the spirit, right? And every time you come across like temptation, trial, and tribulation, you should always meditate on the fruits, right? Always meditate on the fruits, because what you do in that exact moment is going to be some people's last memory of you. It's going to leave a long-lasting stain of you, right? So you have to make sure that every opportunity that you get to get out the spirit, you meditate on like the fruits of the spirit, and it'll kind of help you stay in order. You always got to keep your mind focused on the things of the Most High, because when we don't, that's when we begin to give ourselves over to rebellion, right? And we begin to rebel against the word of the Lord, and that's when we begin to become these creatures and beasts that's not coming, right? So let's go to our next precept, man. This is going to be our last one in the Old Testament, and this is going to be Isaiah 26:3.
And then I think a good example, man, would be Yahweh Shai too. Right, when Satan was tempting him,
Yo,
bad.
Pump the brakes, brother. Pump
My
the
fault.
brakes, brother.
My fault.
Right? Pump the brakes.
I should have knew you had that one. You gonna have that one. Pull that one.
Look,
out.
man, that's sin. You already know that was gonna be the one in there. But you can go ahead and finish your point.
No, I was just saying, man. That's just a good person to look at when we get tempted. Look at how he handled the situation.
Con. And we're gonna read that too. So that's something to keep in mind, like the brother Obadiah said, right? Christ kind of served as an example of how we should live our lives. And he not only served as a sacrifice to atone for us breaking the contract that we had made with the Most High God, but also serve as an opportunity to see the power that we can have and possess when we truly walk with the Father, right? So we'll get to that, but that's a way to bring that up, and introduce it into the topic. So let's read this in Isaiah 26:3.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 26 and verse 3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee.
Right. Hey, man, the antidote to a tempted, troubled mind is fixed on the Most High God, right? If you want something to cure your mind from wondering, focus on the Most High, right? I think that's in the book of Psalms, chapter 1, right? Uh, the law of the Lord is his delight, and he meditate day and night. Roughly paraphrasing, but if we meditate on the Lord's law, statutes, and commandments in our heart daily, nightly, you know what I'm saying, afternoonly, eveningly, morningly, you know, sleeply, awakely, drivingly, you know, regardless of regardless of the setting that we're in, if we're keeping our mind focused on the Lord, the Lord is going to keep us in perfect peace. And that's how you get to examples like Christ, you know, dealing with Satan on the mountain, because his mind was on the Lord. Matter of fact, he quoted the Lord, and we're going to read it, but he even quoted the Lord, right? And his commandments during that. And how much more us, you know, we have the same exact power that Christ has. Little do you know. The problem is that people think that, you know, we're allowed to, I guess you could say, step out of the spirit sometimes because, oh, God will have mercy on us. But you just got to be careful, because sometimes you could do something and it could be the last time you do it, right? You could get angry, and that anger, that moment of you acting out of your anger, could cost you your life. So you always got to you always have to understand that when we read Genesis 4 and 7, and it said, I'll just roughly paraphrase it again, just pretty much saying, if you do well, you'll be accepted. But if you don't do well, sin is going to lie out the door. And if we're going to, unto sin, we're going to desire it, right? So pretty much saying, like, you just got to keep your mind focused on the Lord, because if you don't, you become a servant to sin. And sin is, according to Romans 6 and 23, is going to lead you to death, right? An early grave. And like the Lord said in Ezekiel, why should we die before our time? Right. So,
you know, when you know, in the sport of horse racing, they put blinders on the horse so the horse doesn't get distracted. The horse can only look straight. He can't look at the audience. He can't look at the next horse that's beside him, right? He's going to keep his mind focused on the task at hand, right? And out of that comes good results, right? He's not going to get spooked. He's not going to slow down because he was distracted. He's not going to trip over his feet. He's not going to, you know, turn his head and then go the wrong direction. He's headed towards the mark. So a lot of times in life, man, if we lose our peace and we start feeling confusion, or we start feeling fear, or we start feeling like we're out of place or lost or depressed, it's because we have our mind is not stayed on him no more. Your mind got to stay on him throughout anything you go through in life. And that's how you're going to stay in that perfect peace. You know, you're going to be in peace and chaos when everybody else is like, man, how is that brother going through what he's going through with a smile on his face? How is that sister dealing with what she's dealing with a smile on her face? Because his mind is stayed on him, stayed on the Most High. So the Most High is going to give them perfect peace in whatever situation that they could be in.
Con, man. Con. Beautiful, well spoken, right? I lied, though. This won't be our last precept in the Old Testament, because I meant to pull up, refer to this story too. Let's go to the book of Genesis 39, and let's start at verse 7. You can keep it wide. We just going to read through 12, right? Genesis 39, we starting at 7, and we're going to wrap it up with verse 12.
Hey, man, why that brother keep lying, man?
Why the heck I'm lying? I ain't gonna lie. I literally forgot that I was I had this in my notes. So I just wanted to bring this up because what I wanted to do was give a reference like in the Old Testament where we see an example of somebody kind of like keeping their composure. And I wanted to bring one in the New Testament, right? So the one in the Old Testament, of course, is notorious. It's a famous story that we all know, right? But I'll let the word speak and we'll read it for ourselves. So let's start at Genesis 39 and verse 7.
Genesis 39 and starting at verse 7, it says, "And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me."
Right. Whose wife is this? This is Potiphar's wife, right? She's pretty much enticing Joseph, saying, look, lie with me, right? Let's keep reading.
Verse number 8. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand.
He's entrusting me with everything in here. Let's keep reading.
Verse number 9, there is none greater in this house than I, neither has he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?
You know, before the commandments were given to the children of Israel, it was always an understanding like you shouldn't sleep with another man's wife, right? Plain upon table. So at the end of the day, Joseph is saying, like, if he gave me all of this, but he told me I can't have you because you his wife, why would I sit up here and go like do this man dirty if he gave me everything in here? Why would I sin against my God, right? Let's keep reading.
God. Verse number 10, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within.
Mm-hmm.
And she, verse number 12, and she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out.
Man, he got out of Dodge. He's a runner. He's a track star. You know what I'm saying? Like Joseph said, look, we got to do what Paul exhorted us to do in 1 Corinthians 6, which is flee fornication. And he did exactly that. He stayed poised. He remained calm under pressure. He didn't give Satan an opportunity to get him to act outside of the will of the Father. And that's how we need to be when we're faced with temptation in life, whether it be sexual, materialistic, or any type of emotional temptation there is. We got to learn how to be like Joseph, right? We got to learn how to understand that the Lord has blessed us. Regardless of what you think you have, it's a blessing to have the opportunity to be in your right mind. It's a blessing to understand the laws and the judgments of the Lord. It's a blessing to understand that you have an opportunity to glorify God even in your body by refusing to do what Satan wants you to do, which is sin against him, using your flesh. So we have all these opportunities to glorify God. Let's not bring God in the sacrifice that he gave us to an open shame just because of a moment's time of pleasure, because that probably could have been, there could have been a lot of men, right, that wanted to sleep with Potiphar's wife, right? And because she could have been a beautiful, a fair, you know what I'm saying? Like she could have been the best looking woman in all the land. But the thing is, sometimes you got to keep your integrity, right? You got to learn how to be like, man, nah, it's not worth it, right? And that's a lot of us have to literally consider some things are just not worth getting worked up over. You know, even when I teach, sometimes I try to take the, and I want to give a shout out to the priest Abbat, man, from the House of Israel, right? But a lot of time when I was early in the truth, right, when we first started coming together as the hopeful elect, I used to watch a lot of his teachings. And one thing priest Abbat was good at is when somebody just wasn't getting it, they wasn't, receiving it, or they was just up there wasting time, scoffing, whatever, he would just tell them, have a nice night. Some things are just not worth, getting out of your wits over. So you just got to learn how to be like even killed. You got to learn how to see the temptation and rebuke it and flee from it, right? But again, that was, the story of Joseph. Like, again, he's the perfect example for that. So now let's transition. Let's transition to the Apocrypha, because like I said, I got two precepts coming out of the Apocrypha. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 21, and let's go to verse number 27. So we got a few more scriptures left. I'm just going to pull a couple out the Apocrypha, right? And then we'll go to the New Testament and we'll end there. But Sirach 21 and 27, or Sirach, excuse me.
Sirach, chapter 21 and verse 27. When the ungodly curses Satan, he curses his own self.
Right. When you curse Satan, you curse your own self, right? And this is kind of like a truth. So if you already living in sin, right, your allegiance is already with the enemy. You can't sit up here and be living a sinful life and think you're going to rebuke Satan, because all you're doing is rebuking you, right? What does Satan come to do? Kill, steal, and destroy. And that's literally what you do. You kill yourself. And not only that, you kill others, right? Or you can look at it like you kill the spirit of God that is trying to dwell within you when you don't follow the will of God, right? you stealing from the Lord, right? You stealing everything, and this is more spiritual than it is physical, right? I'm not saying people who are living for the will of Satan are just stealers and killers in the physical, right? But spiritually speaking, right? Um, and also, you're destroying not only in a physical sense can you destroy things, but you can also be destroying your own temple, right? Our body is the temple of the Most High God, and we destroy that when we don't follow His will. So when it says, when the ungodly curseth Satan, he curseth his own soul. This is just saying pretty much like, if you already live in sin, your allegiance is with the enemy, even when you think that you're against him. And we tell a lot of people who follow Christianity, a lot of times you have a form of God, but you have a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, right? You have a zeal of God, but it's not according to knowledge. So you kind of got to bethink yourself, right? You got to really truly go into the word and see what it is that you're doing that confirms you or reassures you that you're walking with God. And if you go into the word and you see that the life that you live in ain't really so set apart, then you need to rebuke yourself and get back on good standing with the Father, right? But like we said, we got to break that allegiance before the temptation takes hold, because if we not really denying our flesh, it's really not a fight. You know what I'm saying? It's not really a fight if you giving into it, regardless if you have knowledge of the commandments of the Lord, right? The fight is when you denying it, right? It may try to hit you with an uppercut, but you a good counter puncher, and you come back, you know what I'm saying, with 2 jabs and a straight hook, right?
Man, the ungodly, man, be a lot of these people that's living in the world. A lot of times, they start catching hell for whatever reason, and they be like, man, that's Satan, man. Yeah, Satan been on me, bro. X, Y, and Z. And you like, bro, Satan gave you all the good stuff in your life so far. Don't curse him now, brother. You ain't been living right. So it's like you cursing yourself, bro. You cursing your hand, because that's the hand that was dealt to you from, and that hand that was dealt to you has been helping you out this far. Now you're gonna curse him because he showed you his true colors. Now you cursing yourself, bro. You never was living right. You never was supposed to be getting blessed by God.
Right. And sometimes people, again, man, sometimes people deceive themselves because they really don't think that they follow Satan just because they have a knowledge of who the Most High God is. But just because you have a thought, or you kind of know who the Most High God is, doesn't mean that you're walking with him, right? So like the brother said, man, you may be catching hell, but you don't even realize it's your own doing, you know what I'm saying, that's causing you to catch hell. Or it could be that it was never in the Lord's will for you to not catch it, But Khan, let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, and verse number 16.
You said 1 and 17?
16.
16, my bad. So like ain't no 17. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and 16. But ungodly men with their works and words called it to them. For when they thought to have it their friend, they consumed to naught and made a covenant with it, because they are worthy to take part with it.
Right. Pretty much saying, man, sin ain't just a mistake, it's a covenant that you making with death and demons, right? And we got to be wise to, I guess you could say, refuse this covenant. We got to see it and deny it, right? I'm a football coach, so a lot of times what I would tell my players is, you know what I'm saying, you got to read, then you got to react. And that's how I was taught. Read and react. What you're doing is you read in the room, you read in what the offense is doing, and then you react to it. And it has to be quick. It's like you don't have time to even sit there and take long to read it. You got to process it, and it's got to be like boom, boom. Brothers on the screen are former athletes. They play basketball. Some brothers play football. We got brother Obadiah who said, man, he had brothers on Buck Island. But a lot of times when you learning how to play sports, you learning how to read and react quickly, because you don't have an opportunity to sit back, kick your feet up, and chill when you playing a sport, right? Because things happen instant or simultaneously. It's the same thing with spirituality. You got to see the temptation creeping in, and you got to rebuke it. You got to flee, right? You got to get out the jam, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be in a situation where you sin all because you just failed to acknowledge that there was a covenant, or that a demon was bringing a covenant to you, and you just went ahead and signed it just because you gave into your flesh, right? But let's go to the book. Now we join to the New Testament, man. And we got a few scriptures here and then we'll close. So let's get the book of James chapter 4 and verse number 7.
The book of James, chapter 4 and verse number 7. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you.
I mean, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Ain't even no reason to sit up here and go through a whole breakdown with that. Resist the devil, and he's going to flee, right? Self-explanatory. Let's go to the book of Ephesians 4. Let's start at 26, and we're going to read 26 and 27.
Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26. Is Ephesians right? Oh yeah.
Con.
Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil.
Right. So being angry, man, and sin not, right? Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. And I look at it like this. You know, the point of this, what I say is like, it's like this, man. I think, dang, I wish I had the blue letter, but I want to say the Greek word for place is, I want to say it's topos, right? And it's pretty much like a foothold and opportunity. And pretty much it's like a chance. And we're commanded to not give Satan any room, any type of room to get us out of the spirit. You can't let the sun go down on your anger, man. I try not to go to bed upset with my wife. You know, if we have like a disagreement, I try to kind of like make amends before, you know what I'm saying, we go to bed, because again, you never want to have an opportunity for the last moment you have with somebody to be shared in anger. You know, the same way you always don't want to give Satan an opportunity to get you out of the spirit to do something when you're angry. So you just pretty much, again, self-explanatory, right? Don't give the devil a chance. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 10 and 13.
Right.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 10 and verse 13. There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
Right, man. We'll be able to bear temptation. Like the brother Azrael say, a lot of people always misread this verse. This is not pretty much saying that the Lord ain't gonna put nothing hard on you. He's just pretty much saying that the Lord is going to give you a way to bear these burdens, right? He's going to give you a way to handle the workload. A lot of people think that we won't see a workload, but that's false. He's going to give us an opportunity to kind of like select it. He's going to give us an opportunity to handle the workload. So you just got to know that there ain't nothing that you're facing that anybody who's ever lived hasn't faced, especially God's people, you know? So you just got to kind of, I guess you could say, you have to make up in your mind that you'll use what's written in this word as examples for you to overcome any type of adversity there is. Knowing that, one, this life is temporary, but two, like it reads in Romans 15, the things that are written aforetime were written for our learning. So we got to be able to use what was written. We got to be able to use the mistakes and the examples that people made before us to not make those same mistakes. You know, I'm a firm believer in that. You don't have to make the same mistake as somebody else made. If somebody else made the mistake, then learn from there. So that way you don't have to follow in their footsteps, because you may not have the same outcome. You may not have the same mercy and grace that some of these other prophets and priests had. Like everybody likes to point to David having mercy because of his adultery with Bathsheba, that he didn't die, but the Lord still murdered his son. And guess what? You may not have the same grace as David did. The Lord may take you out. So you just got to kind of examine, yourself. Always examine yourself in every situation. When adversity starts to come, examine what you have done, right? Did you sin against God? If you did, repent and turn from those sins, and maybe things will start getting good. If you didn't sin, we'll consider this a test from the Lord and pass the test. Control your spirit, stay poised, be even keel. When things are going great, praise. When things are going great, praise his name. When things are going bad, worship him, bow before him, exalt him. But every opportunity, whether good or bad, is an opportunity to glorify the name of the Lord, right? So just keep that in mind.
Right, man. And,
Go ahead.
in this one, man, it says it parallels great with the story that the brother pulled up of Joseph and Potiphar's wife. It says, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape? A lot of times, man, there's a way to escape your situation, but you just don't want to take it. It might your way. So Joseph's way to escape is really just grabbing the clothes which he had on him that he could keep and getting up out of there, right? But also, a way of escape might look like having a conversation with somebody you don't want to have a conversation with, going to somebody that might have good advice for you that you might not want to take advice from, or you might not want to confide in. What it might look like, it might look like putting your pride aside in certain situations, right? But with every situation, man, there's a way of an escape, and I bring out those examples because those are a lot of things that we tend to look over, and we don't exhaust those options, right? We think of every other way of trying to have a solution for our problems versus the ways that we know probably will work, but we're too prideful to tap into those solutions, right? And so always understand, man, the Most High God, he's always going to provide a way of escape. Are you going to be smart enough to take it? Even if you don't, even if you see the window of grace, right? It might not look appealing to you, but is it the smart window to go out of? And if the answer is yes, man, you dive out that window, right? You don't look back. You know what I'm saying? You take that solution, and don't be afraid to take that solution. Don't be caught up in yourself to take that solution, because it's ultimately going to save you and save you out of that situation you're in.
Throwback to That's So Raven. A lot of times before That's So Raven had her vision, it was a question that was being asked. She might be in a conversation and somebody asked her a question if they want to go somewhere, if they want to do something. And then she would get that vision like, start looking out into space, right? And she'll see something in the future or whatever. And then she'll come back to mind and be like, I'm a pass, or yeah, let's do this or whatever, right? That's kind of how we got to be. We got to be quick to count the cost. We got to be quick to see the way of escape to be able to bear whatever we're going through, right? We got to kind of snap out of reality and then snap right back into it. And we got to treat every situation like that, right?
Just like the brother Isaiah was saying, you know what I'm saying? It's just like what you say, man. It's got to happen quick. Something happens, you got to see the match for it right then and there. You got to know what to do. Boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be quick. A lot of times when you playing football, you the running back. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you see that hole, you got to hit it. If not, it might be too late. You only got a short window of space to hit it. You know what I'm saying? When it's gone, it's gone. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to miss that window of escape, man, because you don't know when the next time you're gonna see one.
Mighty points, man. Like the brother Denal said, man, we got to learn how to capitalize on our window of opportunity, right? Window of opportunity, because at the end of the day, those opportunities may not be there when you think it's going to be there, right? So just go ahead, hit the hole, and go score the touchdown, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole point of our lives is to score points for the Lord. How do we score points for the Lord? We keep his commandments. So that's what we need to be focused on, right? Being the best athletes that we can be for the Most High God, not for sports organizations. And I'm saying that in a spiritual sense, not necessarily physical. So if you're watching this, especially to the brother Baruch in the chat, man, don't be going trying to hit 80 push-ups a night, trying to become the next Floyd Mayweather, right? Be a Floyd Mayweather in the spirit by rebuking these demons. You know what I'm saying? But let's go to Matthew 26 and let's go to verse number 41. And to the brother Denal's point, this verse in 1 Corinthians 10 points directly to Joseph. So that's again a mighty parallel just to bring up and expound on, right? 41. Let's go down to 41. Right. So we're gonna get some words from who the world calls Jesus Christ himself, right? Let's read this.
Is it on me?
God.
Matthew 26 and 41. It says, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Flesh is weaker than the mud, man. I'm telling you from experience, right? Like Titus 3 says, we know because we've been there before, right? We've been people that haven't really rebuked our flesh like we should have. So you have to know that the spirit is willing and your flesh is weak. And knowing that, you have to, again, I guess you could say, possess your vessels, right? Possess, therefore, your vessels, knowing that these small, I guess you could say, limbs that we have, right? They shouldn't be able to keep us from the kingdom, right? Don't allow your vessels to be workers of iniquity, right? Don't be sinning, right? And thinking that, oh Lord, I can't get it together, right? But the reason you can't get it together is because you don't want to. Why? Because your flesh is weak, and because your flesh is weak, you feel like it's okay to submit to it. Then you go and run to Christ when he said this and be like, well, even Christ understood that our flesh is weak, so the Lord is going to have mercy. Again, you may not have that same mercy that was allotted to a lot of our foremothers and fathers. So be the best that you can be each and every day. When you're faced with temptation, overcome it. At some point, certain sins should become elementary. It should be like, oh, this is easy to overcome. You know, this I shouldn't even be dealing and struggling with this no more. And that's not to diss any brother or sister who may be secretly struggling with some sins that they've been dealing with since they were youth. But if you're that person, you got to know that, hey, look, it's time to mature in the spirit. No longer, don't give yourself any more excuses, right? It's time to boss up, be a man, be a woman, stand on your square for the name of the Lord and look that sin in the mirror and say, look, I'm not going to allow you to have any more power and control over me. Run and flee from fornication, right? And we'll talk about this after we read a couple precepts, because there's a couple of notes that I wrote down. Shout out to our brother Brandon, bro. He's not on the lesson, but he does these kind of like post lesson recaps, and I kind of had some written down just to kind of give people something to think about after this lesson is over with. So let's go to the next precept. Let's go to John chapter 14 and verse 30. Right? Make no provision for the flesh. Escape prior to con, right? Make no provision for the flesh. Just go ahead and get up out of that thing, man. Make haste and delay not to keep his commandments. John 14 and 30. Can y'all hear me clear? I didn't know if I was.
Con.
Okay, Con.
This is the book of John, chapter 14 and verse 30. Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh and have nothing in me.
Right, man. So the ultimate goal, right? You can pretty much say that Satan couldn't fault Jesus for anything, right? No insecurities, no nothing, like no agreement with sin, you know. So our aim is to be filled with the spirit of the Most High that the enemy can, you know, find nothing to fault us for. You know, we don't want to be found guilty. I think we was talking about that at camp yesterday when a person came up and started asking questions about, you know, what is the outlook on judgment in the kingdom, and pretty much we was all saying, like, if you know that you're doing wrong, stop doing wrong right now. That'll give Satan less to accuse you for in that day, right? Don't let your sins be your accuser in that day. The way you don't let your sins be your accuser is you stop sinning. If you repent, right? You gotta repent just means to turn away. So when you repent, just don't do it no more. It's pretty much that simple, right? We don't want to be found guilty. The same way Satan couldn't find nothing in Christ, right? The same way we don't want to be found guilty in that day. So just remind yourself that that's the ultimate goal, is to be clean, is to be blameless, is to be like a white linen robe, you know, faultless, a lamb without blemish. We want to be these characteristics because our salvation lies upon it, right? But let's go to let's go to Matthew 4, right? And I don't think we're gonna read the whole entire, I guess you could say, conversation between Christ and Satan, but I do want to read like maybe a couple verses from it. Matthew 4, you can keep it wide. So we can start at verse number 1.
You're
You muted.
Matthew chapter 4, reading as is. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. And he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Right. Stop right there. So right there, Christ, again, poised, calm, cool, and collected, right? It's like a quarterback. And I'm relating to football because I played football and I'm a coach. And the game of football in a lot of aspects has a lot of relations to life spiritually. It's like when you in the spirit, man, you got to be like a quarterback that's facing a pass rush, and the pass rush has the best pass rushers that ever played the game of football on the defensive line. And as soon as you get the ball in your hands, one of your offensive linemen who's supposed to be blocking for you, he already beat. So less than a second, you already facing pressure. So now you got to make this downfield throw to win the game, but you can't roll out the pocket, because if you do, guess what? That window of opportunity that we was just talking about, it might not be there no more. So you got to set your feet and make this throw in the face of pressure. You pretty much got to stare down the shotgun barrel, or stare down the barrel of a shotgun and make this throw under pressure. And that's the same thing you see Christ doing. Satan tempted him because he was hungry, and he said, guess what? Man ain't gonna live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High, right? So let's read.
Verse 5. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple. Verse 6. And he saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God.
Both of these verses found in the book of Deuteronomy, man. And you know, it's important to know this because just like the brother said in the chat, right? And I'll just use what he said, right? This is why it's key that we stay in the word, so we can build up that IQ to discern and deal with these situations for real. Hey, because Christ was so in his word, he has the discernment to deal with this situation right now. He's living it. He's living in the moment. The brother Denal likes to say that a lot. A lot of times in the spirit, as children of God, we got to learn how to live in the moment. When people are challenging us, when situations arise in our lives, we got to learn how to live in the moment, so that way we can handle the situation perfectly according to the will of the Father, right? We don't want to look back and say, dang, we should have did this, or dang, I could have did that. If you live in the moment, you kind of learn how to deal with the situations in the moment the perfect way. And Christ, because he was so in his word, he was able to go straight to the word and quote the Father directly to get Satan up off his back, right? Now, I guess we can finish this out. We can read through verse 11.
Verse 8. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Verse 10, then saith Jesus unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him.
Man, poised, calm, cool, and collected. In the pocket, facing pressure, delivering dots. Every pass was a completion. Down the field, you could say every pass was a touchdown, right? Hey, the Lord put together, right? The Lord put together a game-winning playbook. And it's because we study the Lord's game-winning playbook, the playbook that quarterbacks of the faith, like Christ, he was able to put together a game-winning drive, you know? So again, a lot of times you got to examine every situation and you got to kind of take it and you got to kind of live in the moment, because when you live in the moment, when you've been in your word, the answers is right there. And you don't have to go back and review the game film and be like, see, I should have did this. I should have said that. I could have done this, right? You want to look back at every situation you've been faced with and say that you've done everything perfectly, right? So again, don't give the devil no chance, right, to deceive us, right? Don't give the devil any chance to deceive you, to get you out of the spirit, to get you to fall short. Because again, our windows of opportunity may not always be there. So when the Lord gives you a window to escape, when the Lord gives you a window to glorify his name, take it. Take it. Don't hesitate. Take it, right? Don't even think about it. Take it. Because the moment you think about it may be the moment that you missed the opportunity. So I had some notes, and I wanted to say it was 4 things that we should know, right? How do we live this out? We have to be proactive is the main thing. So number 1 is know your triggers. What situations, emotions, or environments make you vulnerable? That's where you post a guard. Pretty much, you got to know how to defend yourself from your triggers, right? Knowing your triggers. Number 2 is memorizing the word. You know what I'm saying? You know the word, right? Well, if you don't know the word, you got to get in it. You got to memorize it. So that way we can be like Christ in every situation when it's presented, we can quote the word and we can deliver ourselves from the spirit and the temptation of Satan, right? Number 3, have an escape plan. When you have a business and you have a building, every business has to have an escape plan, an emergency escape plan in the case of natural disasters, in the case of mass shootings, in the event that anything happens, they have an emergency escape plan. It's the same thing for us. We have to have an emergency escape plan when Satan comes and tempt us, right? If you have a tempting situation, you got to be able to call somebody. You got to be able to get up and get out the house. Go pray. Do something other than sit there and sit in that sin, right? And the last one, is just, daily submission. You should begin and end every day with prayer and exhortation to the Most High, right? And you got to know that the more you're in your word, the more you submit to the Father, the more that spirit of wisdom will walk with you, because that spirit of wisdom is going to prove you before you're able to withhold it. And once the spirit of wisdom has proven you to be worthy to having hold of it, now you got to walk with it, right? So those are just things that you could do, right, to help you remember these words. Stupid, I'm not going to let you get the chance, right? Who are we calling stupid? We calling Satan stupid, right? We calling the demons that follow him stupid. We're not going to let you get the chance to deceive us and tempt us and trick us no longer, right? Get out the jam, man. Get out of Dodge, right? Be a good counter puncher. If you watch boxing, counter punchers really make the best fighter sometimes. Be a good counter puncher. But with that being said, man, I have nothing else left to add. Do the brothers have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to read one precept real quick, man. A short one.
Go ahead.
Short, but I feel like it goes along with everything y'all done said. Right? Psalms 119:24. Thy testimonies also are my delight and my counselors. So like how everybody's been saying on screen and in the chat, the testimonies of God, the things that we read our forefathers, our foremothers go through, the things that are written in the law, those are our counselors. All that stuff is written to be our counselors, man. In the time of need, in the time that we would need them, that's Salakia. I'm not even sharing my screen. But in the time that we would need them, that's what we're supposed to reflect on, right? Just like if somebody's studying to be a doctor if they forget something, if they don't know what to do, they go back to the med books, right? Somebody that's a lawyer, he forgets a certain law or a certain code or a certain right. He go back to the law books. She go back to the law books. Just like those things, we got to go back to this, right? We got to go back to the things that were written to be our counselors, man. And don't feel bad if you have to go and you have to find it. Be like, dang, I remember it said something like that. Go back and find it, right? Because ultimately, you know, there's power in reading the words. That's why it says, blessed is he that readeth. He knew eventually, he knew that we would be living in the time we're in today where we would be reading, right? He knew that. That's why I said, blessed is he that readeth, man. So, you know, rely on those things that were written. Become mighty lesson.
Con, man, like it reads in Revelation. Oh, go ahead, Obadiah, my bad.
No, I was just saying, man, that's definitely a mighty lesson, man.
Hey, all praises to the Most High, man. You know, like it reads in Revelation, man. Remember your first love. Well, I think that's in Revelation. It could be somewhere else, but remember your first love, man. First thing we should fall in love is the Word of God, especially when you come into the knowledge of who you are, the knowledge of who the Most High God is, the knowledge that we should be keeping His commandments, right? The knowledge that we got to have faith and believe on His Son. You got to, apply all the things that's written therein. But with that, it's your brothers from the Hopeful Elect coming at you with another Soul Food Sunday. We'll close out by saying all praises, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We want to say shalom to everyone that tuned in and added unto the word. We want to say shalom to those who will watch following. Most High willing, all of you were edified, and we'll be back on here Tuesday evening with the brother Denal, right? So all praise, glory, and honor be to the Most High God. Shalom.
The young boy said, boop, beep, bop, bam.
Madness.